Dear students, in this video we are going to start chapter 9 in macroeconomics, deficient demand and excess demand. So this is one of the topic in unit 3, determination of income and employment. So far in unit 3 we have completed aggregate demand and its components, propense to consume and propense to save, then short-run equilibrium output. In that we learned about investment multiplier and its mechanism. This chapter is the last chapter in this unit. So we will be learning about the problem of excess demand and problem of deficient demand. What are the measures to correct them? So what are the changes in government spending, taxes, money supply? So all these we will be learning in this chapter. Let's enter into the topic. So these are the content we are going to cover in this chapter. So to know about excess demand and deficient demand, we must know some basic concepts. Then problem of deficient demand, problem of excess demand, how to measure and correct the deficient and excess demand. And here only comes the monetary policy and fiscal policy, which you were learning right from the last year. Let's divide this chapter into 4 sessions so that you can have better understanding. Today we are going to learn only about the basic concepts which are needed to know about deficient demand and excess demand. Only if we know these 3 concepts, we can very well understand the excess and deficient demand. So the concepts related to full employment and underemployment equilibrium, voluntary and involuntary unemployment, full employment and natural unemployment. So all these concepts we are going to see in detail in this video. In the previous chapter we learned that equilibrium is struck when aggregate demand equal to aggregate supply or S equal to I. But it need not necessarily correspond to the situation of full employment. See, always it does not mean when aggregate demand and aggregate supply are equal, we cannot conclude that there is full employment in the economy. Aggregate demand and aggregate supply may be equal even when resources are not fully utilized, or even when there is unemployment in the economy. Let's understand this concept using an example. Let's assume that fuller utilization of resources lead to output worth 10 billion US dollar during an accounting year. But the producers may plan output and the household, that is individuals, we plan expenditure only worth of 8 billion US dollar. Again I repeat, the available resources in the economy is 10 billion US dollar. But the producers and the households plan to spend only 8 billion US dollar. So resources worth of 2 billion US dollar, 10 minus 8, 2 billion US dollar of output remain unutilized. But the equilibrium struck simply because planned output, that is aggregate supply, and planned expenditure, that is aggregate demand, are equal. So that is 8 billion US dollar. So we can think of 2 possible situations of equilibrium. One is full employment equilibrium, the other one is underemployment equilibrium. So what is full employment equilibrium? So it is the situation in the economy when aggregate supply equal to aggregate demand with fuller utilization of resources. So in this situation there is no excess capacity or unemployment. So in full employment situation there will not be any unemployment at all. So all the resources here, the resources we mean physical resources, capital resources, human resources. All the resources are fully employed. Then what is underemployment equilibrium? Underemployment equilibrium is struck when planned aggregate supply is equal to planned aggregate demand, but resources are still not fully utilized. So there is excess capacity in the economy. As per our example, fuller employment equilibrium is struck when planned aggregate supply and planned aggregate demand equal to 10 billion US dollar. Okay, so that is supply also $10 billion, aggregate demand also $10 billion. Then we can say it is full employment equilibrium. Whereas aggregate supply is $10 billion, but aggregate demand, that is the households, we individuals and producers demand only $8 billion, then it is named as underemployment. So these both difference you must know. The next two types of unemployment are voluntary unemployment and involuntary unemployment. The first one, voluntary unemployment, occurs when some people are not willing to work at all. So sometimes they don't like to work, otherwise they are not willing to work at the existing wage rate. For example, he may be willing to work only for 50,000 rupees, but he is not able to get job for 50,000. He is getting job only for 25,000. So he is not ready to work. That kind of unemployment is called voluntary unemployment. You can remember the film VIP. So in that Dhanush was not willing to work, even he had job opportunities in call centers for 50,000 or something, but he was willing only to work as an engineer. So that can be the example of voluntary unemployment. In the case of involuntary unemployment, this type of unemployment occurs when some people are not getting work. That is, even when they are willing to work for any wage rate, the economy does not provide enough job opportunities. So that type of unemployment is called involuntary unemployment. During involuntary unemployment, the planned output is lower than the potential output. So potential output means the full employment output. So in our example, we discussed that $10 billion is the planned output. So here in the involuntary unemployment, it will be less than the full employment. So there is excess capacity in the economy and some people are forced to remain unemployed. The next one is full employment and natural unemployment. So full employment refers to a situation when all those who are able to work and are willing to work are getting work. It is a situation when corresponding to a given wage rate, that is demand for labor and supply of labor, and the labor market is cleared. That is, if there is demand for labor and the number of laborers available for that particular job both are equal, then we can name that as full employment. So it is in the state of equilibrium. Students of economics must carefully note that in an economy, a situation of full employment never implies a situation of zero unemployment. So you must know that here full employment means so everyone will get jobs. There is no unemployment at all. So that it is not so. Okay, that is not at all possible in any economy. There is possibility of natural unemployment. So there exists some degree of unemployment in the economy. That is called natural unemployment. So you should not say that there is no full employment means there is no unemployment at all. So that is not at all possible. So few members will remain unemployed. The last type of unemployment is frictional and structural unemployment. So Gardner, the economist named Gardner, gave definition for frictional and structural unemployment. So what is frictional unemployment means? It is the unemployment associated with the changing of jobs in dynamic society. We know that economy always changes. So we know that change is the only permanent. Okay, so there are lot of changes in the economy. So because of the changes in the economy, some may not be able to get job opportunities. Now if you take the present situation, so because of this uncertain situation, some few members are not able to get job opportunities. So this is called frictional unemployment. The other examples of frictional unemployment are it arises due to the immobility of labor. So sometimes laborers will move from one place to the other place. So now if you see, many of them shifted to their native places, so they may not be able to get job for time being. The other examples are shortage of raw material, lack of information regarding opportunities of employment, then shortage of power, wear and tear of machines. Sometimes there will be repair in the machines. So that time also they may not be able to get the employment opportunities for temporary period, not for the fixed period, for temporary period of time. And tendency of the workers to move from one job to the other. So few may think, so they may not be satisfied with the present job, so they may shift to some other job. So these are the examples for frictional unemployment. The next one is structural unemployment. This definition also given by Gardner. Structural unemployment is the unemployment that results from the long-term decline of certain industries. It is generally associated with the structural changes in the economy because of few reasons. The first reason may be when other factors of production. So we should not take the labors. Okay, so the factors of production means land, labor, capital, organization. Here you should not take labor, the remaining land, capital, organization. So in this, any one of the factor are in short supply, this structural unemployment may happen. The other reason is when laborers lack expertise for new emerging industries. So they may not know the technical changes in the emerging industry. So if you take this online class itself, if I am not able to adopt the modern technology in online teaching, so I may not get employment opportunities. They may opt for some other teacher. Okay, so this is also called structural unemployment. So we should know to adopt for the technical changes in the economy. And the last reason may be due to the change in production technique. So while producing the product, they may change the technology. So if they don't know to adopt that technology, so structural unemployment may happen. So these are all the three reasons for structural unemployment. Now it's time to end up today's session. So in this video we learned some essential concepts regarding excess demand and deficient demand, that is about full employment and underemployment equilibrium, voluntary and involuntary unemployment, full employment and natural unemployment. Hope you understood the difference between each and every types of unemployment. If you have any doubts, you can clarify with me. Thank you. Have a great day.